If you've ever felt like you're too sensitive, like everything hits you harder than it should, then this video is for you. I want to share a bit of my journey, how I went from a walking emotional wreck to finding my strength in that sensitivity. If you're struggling right now, I hope you can find a little bit of yourself in my story. I've always been sensitive. From childhood into my early 20s, it shaped everything about me. Even now I can still feel the echoes of that overly sensitive version of myself. Sometimes I joke about it, calling it weak ass shit, but the truth is, this sensitivity made me the person I am today. It shaped me. Back then, even the slightest comment, sometimes not even a negative one, could mess with my head for days. Especially when it came from someone I barely knew. Let me know if you've been there too. If you've had those days where one random comment could ruin your whole week. The real problem wasn't that I was sensitive. It was that I didn't know how to deal with it. I kept everything bottled up until it just exploded. And when it did, it was chaos. All those emotions, anger, sadness, frustration, they just mixed together. And I would lash out on the people I loved the most. It wasn't just me being mad. It was a full-blown storm, emotional storm. And sometimes I would cry until I was just totally drained. If you've ever cried so much that you just had to lay down afterwards, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sensitivity is complicated. For some people, it's just who they are. For others, it's a defense mechanism, a way from your mind to protect itself from the world. And sometimes it's trauma, the kinds of things that happen when you're a kid and leaves you with scars you don't fully understand yet. For me, it was all of the above. I was naturally sensitive, had tough environments, and there were old wounds that never fully healed. I think a lot of us are still figuring it out. If you are, trust me, you're not alone. I'm still working on it too, still trying to find that balance. Letting go of the parts that hold me back, while also trying to appreciate what sensitivity gives me. Because yeah, it can hurt, but it also lets you feel things in full color. And that's pretty amazing if you think about it. But for a long time, I couldn't see it that way. There was a time where I wanted to just switch it all off, to feel nothing, to escape myself. Maybe some of you are feeling that feeling right now, or you have felt it before. If you have, stay with me, because even when things feel impossible, there's a way through. I reached a point where I couldn't take it anymore. My body had had enough, and it decided to hit the factory reset button, and everything came crashing down. Anxiety and depression, all of it, all at once. It felt like my life all of a sudden just stopped making sense. It felt like I was dying inside and nobody could see it. People around me thought I was losing it. And honestly, maybe I was. There were days when I skipped school just to lie in bed and stare at the ceiling or the wall. I was completely paralyzed from my own thoughts. Sometimes tears would just come from nowhere. My body just needed to let something out. Some pressure it just couldn't contain anymore. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But one day, one random inexplicable day, something changed. I don't know what made me do it, but I got up, took on my shoes, and went for a walk. I was numb, just moving through the motions. But as I walked, something started to shift. I felt this tiny spark, the faintest feeling that maybe everything wasn't completely hopeless. Each step felt like I was leaving a little bit of darkness behind, like I was walking out of a fog. When I got home, nothing had really changed. The anxiety and depression was still there, waiting for me, just as heavy. But that one walk gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. And hope, even just a glimmer, was enough. So I kept walking every day. Whenever I could, I would just put on my shoes and walk. Some days it was purely just so I could get away from my thoughts. But slowly something started to change inside me. Gratitude started to sneak in. Peace. Little moments of joy. It wasn't a sudden miracle, but it was a shift, step by step, until I started to feel alive again. If any of this resonates with you, let me know. It's strange how sensitivity can be both the thing that hurts so much and also the thing that pushes you to heal. If I hadn't felt things so deeply, I might have stayed numb, never wanting to change. But my sensitivity was what was making me crave something better. It was my struggle, yes, but also my strength. The biggest lesson I took from all of this, from what felt like an ego death, was that you can't run from yourself. You can't pretend to be someone you're not. No matter how far I walked, no matter how hard I tried to escape, my true self was always right there, waiting. In the end, instead of running, I had to turn around and face it. And yeah, it was terrifying. It felt like being reborn in a world I didn't recognize. But now looking back, I wouldn't trade it for anything. That nightmare forced me to grow. It made me face my fears, to stop hiding and create my own purpose. And if you're watching this and feel like you are at rock bottom, just know it doesn't last forever. You can grow from this. You can find your strength in the very thing that feels like your weakness right now. Maybe I lost some battles along the way, but in the end, I won the war. And if I can do it, so can you. If you're struggling or if you have found your own way to deal with it, share it. We are all in this together. And sometimes the hardest part is just knowing that you are not alone.